This is the Business Owners IT Podcast with Anthony Gerasch and Ryan Carter, where tomorrow's technology meets today's conversations.
Hi, I'm Tony Gerasch.
And I'm Ryan Carter, and this is the Business Owners IT Podcast.
A podcast where we discuss tips, tricks, and solutions for business owners involving all things tech.
Let's dive right in to the weekly review. And, this one here, we're going to talk a little bit about it because it's been in the news a lot, is Signal. It's an encryption app that you can use on your phone, iPhone, Android, just about any type of phone. You put it on your computer. It's actually a really good piece of encryption software, and I don't know if it's gotten some bad news or good news here, but maybe we could just talk a little bit about encryption on text messaging and Signal, why it's so popular right now.
Yeah, so I mean, these apps, these the WhatsApp and the Signal and the rest, they have end-to-end encryption, right? So Signal, especially, there's no encryption keys, right, that are out there. So the encryption is actually between the end device and the other device. So it's very secure and it's hard to break into.
Right. So,
I think you even mentioned earlier that some foreign countries won't even let you use that app in their country.
They've tried to get it banned, all that, but I mean, since it's internet-based, it works very well. You've got, end-to-end encryption for you business owners would be like, if I were to send Tony a message in Signal, nobody between me to him can see it except for Tony on his device and me on my device. And it's decrypted at the device level. So that's the only way you'd be able to see that message sent between us. And that's why it's so popular, is because you can put a lot in there and no one's going to be able to tell what's happening. So, obviously it got popular because, our Department of Defense was using it for certain things. But how did these people find out what was inside of those messages from the Department of Defense, people doing it? Well, what happened is they added someone to the group. That's all it was. So then it was decrypted at the device. No one was stealing it in between. And that's why it's so popular.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And so, as I was saying with Ryan, when we're going to start to talk about this, it's two things. Either that the person who created the message was dumb and selected the wrong person, or, they did it on purpose.
Yeah.
So, because they didn't break in between, right? So it has end-to-end encryption. That means that it's encrypted between the devices and not stored on a server. The other thing it has, Signal has minimum data collection, right? So and then I guess the messages, it says here, disappearing messages, you can set messages to automatically delete after a specific amount of time. Mm-hmm. So that's cool too, right? So you can send a message and have it delete, which even is worse because, you can send a message about some kind of operational thing that's happening and then have it disappear.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So,
as a business owner, I don't really care who sees my stuff. If I talk about financials, I guess, maybe. But, another thing to think about, too, is that, that blue bubble in your iPhone, talking to iPhones between two iPhones, that means it's encrypted.
Yeah.
But the only thing different between Apple and a company like Signal is Apple actually holds those encryption keys for that. So if they were to intercept in the middle, they could read it. Now, they stand behind that. They never look at messages. They'll never do anything with those encryption keys. They won't decrypt anybody's messages. They won't give them to governments to figure it out. And there's been long standoffs between the government and Apple on not giving decryption keys, but they still do hold that key, so you never know what they could or couldn't do. Yeah. And that's what makes Signal so much more popular with people.
Yeah, and then you look at these WhatsApp and Signal, and you think about it, right? There's some really good use cases that are for it, but then there's also the bad cases, right? A lot of the scams and fraud and stuff happens through these apps because it's not traceable, right? So, these romance scams, you hear a lot about it, right? Where women are taking advantage of older men that are using technology that they don't understand. And, it happens, right? And they use this technology so that they can't be caught. Mm-hmm. You actually physically have to get, your father's phone or your mother's phone, usually it's men, unfortunately, but your father's phone and get on it to see what's going on.
Yep.
And that's another bad use for it, right? So, but, it's the world we live in. The encryption is very strong.
And the good thing about encryption is that nothing's taken in between. So the conversations between you and that other person are your private conversations, and that's very important. You don't want anything plain text just going through the air and someone being able to get it however they do it, through Wi-Fi or however they're doing it. So it kind of leads me to a tip of the week is just, you should use some type of encryption. We already know our iPhones are encrypted, so we're good there. So that at least keeps any bad actor from getting in the middle. So no man-in-the-middle type attacks, which is good. Going iPhone to iPhone, you can use apps like Signal, Telegram. WhatsApp, all those good things. So some type of encryption would be good.
And I just did a little search a little bit more about Signal, and it's popular among journalists and activists and individuals concerned about digital privacy, right? So a lot of these places, these journalists are getting tips and stuff from people and that aren't supposed to be getting this classified information, and they don't want it to be around. So
that's a good point too. Is for journalists, keeping your sources secret is very important, especially in that industry.
Right.
And I stand behind that. So it is a good reason to have an app like that and be able to talk freely.
Right. But and like in the old days, right? You got a tip verbally or something. You go out and investigate to see if it's true, and then circle back around and come up with it, right? But today it seems like they just start, the minute they get the tip, they're out there, right? They never actually try to figure out if it's real.
Yeah, it's a race to see who can be the first in the media. It's tough. It's tough to know. You're right about that.
So
yeah.
So that's about it. I don't know.
I didn't have a lot. I just kind of wanted to bring up
it's one of those
this
things, right? What is Signal? If you guys want to know,
it's a good app. I've got clients that use it. I've got some that have family overseas, like in Israel. So it makes a good a way to connect because it goes over the internet, and instead of using the cellular, so they can talk.
Right.
and especially when there's service disruptions in the areas, so it does help. Yeah, so go ahead, Tony.
All right, well, that's it. That's all I have. So I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in to the Business Owners IT Podcast. We hope to see you next week.
Yeah, and we'd like to talk next week about about us being a little bit more customer focused and what that means for you as business owners. So thanks, and see you next week.
Unique Computing Solutions. Your IT challenges solved.